Welcome, and I'm hosting Tanisha Bansal today. So delighted to have you. Tanisha, why don't you introduce yourself and we'll go from there.
Sounds good. Thank you for having me, Arjun. So I graduated from Haverford May of 21, and I was a psychology major and economics minor. And now I'm headed to UPenn in the fall, and I'm pursuing a master's in counseling and mental health services.
Excellent. I know just following your journey over this course of the year has been amazing, seeing the kind of internships and projects and even academic work that you've done in the past in the field of social psychology and now counseling and mental health. What do you think is really key to figuring out your niche in the space of psychology, and how did your journey pan out?
Mhm. So for me, it was a lot of trial and error. Like I tried a lot of different things till I realized that this is what I don't like and this is what I like. For example, I went into doing a lot of research in psychology, and I realized that I didn't want to be behind a screen looking at numbers. Like I wanted to sort of have a more action based position where I was constantly like interacting with people and meeting new people. And I realized that through like an internship that I had at Umeed Counseling and Consulting Services in Calcutta, where I actually got to sort of talk to people in a clinical setting. And I realized that the sort of skills I had were a lot of active listening, empathizing, and building a rapport with someone. And through all of these experiences, I sort of like realized this is what I'm good at, and this is what I don't want to do, and this is what I'm not good at. Um, so that's what sort of has led me to now pursuing a degree to become a therapist.
So, what are the kind of experiences and training that sort of you feel is not essential, but definitely helps for someone looking not just at grad school, but a career
Mhm.
in this field of mental health counseling?
Be in a clinical setting at least once. Till you're not in the environment, till you don't see how it is to sort of um, speak to people in a room, till you don't try to actively build a rapport over like a few hours of like talking to someone, till you don't sort of like shadow a therapist to see what goes on behind the room, like a lot of like note taking, a lot of like paperwork, a lot of insurance is also challenging. um, so it's this whole thing that goes on, um, and you have to be there to know if that's something you truly want to do.
Also, when you started shortlisting programs for grad school, what were like the range of programs you initially sort of looked at, and how did you zero in on maybe one or two typical
Mhm.
sort of programs which fit what you were looking for?
Right. So for me, getting hands-on experience was my number one priority because I realized that no matter how much I study, theory has to be put into application in this field, and I wanted to be supervised in my process of doing that. So picking a school that had a practicum along with coursework was very important for me, and that's how I started looking at courses. So all the courses I picked across all the different countries I was looking at, they all had sort of like either like a day of volunteering at a hospital, or at a supervised setting where you were like working 8 to 10 hours a week, or you had the option of sort of like shadowing some working counselors. So just being in that setting for some hours a week, a month, whatever, was very important for me, because I realized that, like till I don't do this, I won't be able to be client facing once I graduate. And as soon as I graduate, I want to start the work. So that was a priority. And then obviously, I wanted like a very strong foundation in counseling. So I looked at courses that had um, like the modules that I wanted, sort of like counseling for ethics, group counseling, multiculturalism, and all of that.
So that's super cool, and I think anyone listening in would really enjoy that. The fact that you have to put in the hard work to figure out what you want, size your
It's a lot of work.
and do the research, write to people, get a sense of whether it's a perfect place for you or not. And also the second part, whether you'll get in and what's the process of getting in. That's the biggest challenge
Yeah.
for students. How did you, in retrospect, sort of look at the process in terms of your profile, and what did you think you wanted to pitch in an interview setting, perhaps, and how rigorous was that for you?
Okay. So when I was in my undergrad, I wasn't really thinking of building my profile. Like I was just doing what I was interested in. And towards senior year, I was like, oh my God, this all has to lead to something. I have to like shape like who I am on paper as well. And that's when I started like understanding how to sort of connect all my experiences and draw like this theme of like social justice that has driven my work. And going into the entire interview process was definitely very anxiety inducing, but I sort of like felt confident about who I was putting myself across as. And prepping for the interview, I did everything that I thought was important to do. So I created like a whole like Google Doc with like potential questions. I wrote out answers to all of them. I set up mock interviews with, so I had one mock interview with the career office at Haverford. I I reached out to 10 people from the Penn program on LinkedIn, and I was like, can you talk to me tomorrow? And luckily, one person responded, and I had a call with someone from the program as well, where sort of like I interviewed them about their experience to take out like information that I could use for my group discussion. Um, so I sort of like went all hands on deck before my interview to make sure I was fully prepared. And going into my interview, there was a lot of like quick thinking that I had to do because there were a couple of questions I wasn't expecting. But my prep really helped me navigate all of that. And what threw me off was how well the interviewer knew me and my profile. Like she was the director of the program. Like I did not expect her to know me super well, but she did. So like we logged into Zoom and she was like, "Hi, good morning, everyone, but good evening, Tanisha, because you're from Calcutta." And I was like, "Okay." And then like going into the entire conversation, there was this time when we were talking about sort of working with people in a group setting, and she goes like, "Oh, Tanisha's gonna know. She lives in a house of 20 people." And I was like, whoa, that was like one sentence in one essay. And she like picked on that. So I felt known and recognized. And that sort of pushed me to share beyond of what I had already written in my essays. Um, and that was fun to do. Um, yeah, so it's a lot of hard work, but it's rewarding.
The two things that anyone listening in who's anxious about interviewing at top schools once your sort of application goes through, say, the first round, is yeah, don't hesitate, reach out to Alum, connect with as many people even if it's one day before.
Do
I
it. I sent like 10 emails.
ideally time it well in advance so that people could help you. But I'm glad that you showed proactiveness, and maybe that person who was willing to share their journey in the program perhaps could have been your recommender also. They would have said, oh, this student is really good. So
Who
you never
knows?
know.
Yeah.
And also the fact that universities read your applications, they glean through every little thing that you mention, especially at the highly selective schools, is true. I mean, very often there's a committee reading your application. They want to sort of canvas for you, and they sort of represent you in a committee. And yeah, I'm glad that you had that very interesting and insightful experience with the director at that program. Okay, great. Now, what are you looking forward to the most, other than the practical skills? What resources does this program have? What experiences will you get specifically, which you might want to sort of take away the most from?
I think going to a school like UPenn will give me such a huge platform to connect with alumni, to talk to like world-renowned professors, academics, um, and I want to make the most of all those opportunities. Like I'm most excited to get access to all those resources, get access to like the greater Philadelphia area where I can work, talk to these professors, and just make the most of like being at a school like Penn.
Thank you so much, Tanisha. I'm looking forward to following your journey, and we'll be recording soon again, maybe in a year.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Bye.